Welcome to the Irish Pagan School podcast. Your hosts are authors and co-founders of the Irish Pagan School here in County Waterford, Ireland, Lora O'Brien and John O'Sullivan. Fáilte. If you're new to Irish paganism or even just circling it quietly, there's a good chance that you're carrying one big question underneath everything else. Am I allowed to be here? And that question might sound like it's about ancestry or culture or permission, but often it's about something deeper. It's about not wanting to get this wrong, not wanting to culturally appropriate, not wanting to pretend or be a faker, not wanting to step out onto something that is not yours to hold. So let's start there. And we can understand that Irish paganism or Celtic paganism, but we do practice Irish-specific paganism at the Irish Pagan School, as the name might suggest. Irish paganism is a living tradition that is rooted here in Ireland. It comes from a specific land, specific language, a very specific cultural history and social history. And that matters. It isn't like a loose aesthetic. It isn't feckin' mood board or Pinterest board of Celtic symbols that look cool and make you feel connected. It isn't a set of interchangeable rituals that you can bolt on to whatever you're already doing, or worse yet, just add some Irish deity names into a Wiccan ritual and call it good. But it also isn't a closed club, not a completely closed club. You do not need to be Irish born to learn Irish paganism. You do not need to claim blood lineage. Now, I know people are going to be upset about that, but your blood lineage doesn't actually matter when it comes to Irish paganism, Irish spirituality. You certainly don't need to invent some past life or some ancestry where you're the long lost son of King Brian Boru, right? Believe me, I've heard them all. What you do need, though, is respect, restraint, leaving your entitlement at the door, and just a willingness to learn from the source rather than remake it into your own image or what you need or, what you're going to project into it. That's the baseline. That's it. It is that simple. We get this question all the time, and it is that simple. Respect it. Don't feel entitled to it. And you are absolutely allowed to access it. But please learn from source rather than from a copy of a copy of a copy, because we all know what happens to photocopies, don't we? When they just keep getting copied. The further you get away from source, the more mangled and garbled and misunderstood and personal ego cultized it's going to be. So stick with source. Doesn't have to be me. Doesn't have to be John. But Irish source material, Irish culture, Irish heritage, Irish history. I know there isn't anybody else that is actually doing what we do, so unfortunately you're stuck with us. That's the reason we're doing what we do, so that there is a resource for it. But here we are. But do stick to native Irish sources where at all possible. Now, the second question that most of our 48,000 enrolled students ask is, where do I actually begin? Because if you've spent any time in modern pagan spaces, you have probably encountered a lot of noise and a significant portion of bullshit, unfortunately. You've got crystals and oracle decks and smudging kits and social media altars and very strong opinions and very conflicting information and really big claims about ancient secrets that only such and such can teach you. And somewhere in the middle of all that, you might feel pulled towards Irish tradition. But again, there's so much noise. How can you be sure what's real, what is reconstructed, what is pure invented, what is an ego trip, and what is simply just modern marketing? So here's the first kind of corrective thing that you can be doing, right? Understand that Irish paganism begins with learning, not performing. Okay? We listen. Before anything else happens, we listen and we learn. And it begins with understanding the landscape, the mythology, the seasonal rhythms, and the ethical boundaries of the tradition. You have to understand the history of Ireland if you're going to practice Irish spirituality, because it informs so much of this living tradition. Why are we, as Irish people, the biggest charity givers, I think, in the world, or certainly one of, like as a nation? We're not the richest, but we give the most proportion per capita to charity, or again, one of. Why is that? If you don't know, then you need to study Irish history. And I swear to God, if somebody calls it the potato famine in the comments, you're getting blocked. We don't call it the potato famine. Again, you need to study history, please. It doesn't begin, this kind of spiritual practice or belief or understanding doesn't begin with claiming a deity, with starting a coven, with setting yourself up as a representative of something that you are only just meeting, because it does take years to really grasp it and understand it. If you're at the beginning, your job is very simple. You listen, you read, you observe, you get around actual Irish people, whether that's our news. The journal.ie is your best news source, by the way. Our podcast, Blind Boy, is a great podcast to listen to for Irish culture. Our comedy, Kyla Cobbler comedy, on Instagram and TikTok. Aoife Dunn. Just start picking up what is happening in the country. Irish politics, very important. With all of this, you're doing less than you think you should be. And there's a lesson in that too, definitely. And one of the biggest mistakes that we see every single day is people trying to build a full spiritual identity in the first 3 months or 6 months. A new altar, a new name, new rituals, new social media bio, and this is they're making it their whole personality. Please just slow down. Irish tradition is deeply rooted in place, in land, in seasons, in community memory and cultures and traditions. Now, if you don't live in Ireland or haven't ever lived in Ireland, then that means that your first work is relationship and context, not feckin' reenactment, right? You can't recreate ancient Ireland in your living room or in a hotel suite at a conference. People have tried, believe me, and it's a bit fucking ridiculous, but you just can't do it. But you can begin to cultivate awareness wherever you are in the world. You don't have to be in Ireland. I'm not saying that. Please don't mishear me. I get misunderstood a lot. Please don't do it. Listen. Cultivating awareness begins with awareness of seasonal change. Why are the fire festivals the way they are? What's the relationship between the astronomical calendar and the monuments? You need awareness of how our stories function, how we story tell. We get accused, myself and John, we get accused of rambling all the time. And if there isn't a bigger red flag that people just do not have a clue about Irish culture, then it's accusing Irish people of rambling and going on tangents and side stories. Crack a book, right? Talk to an Irish person. Look at the feckin' Tán Bó Cúailnge, for God's sake, the cattle raid of Cooley, which has, I want to say between 6 and 8, it depends on who's classifying them. Rave scale, which is a pre-tale, which is the rambling tangent that you need to understand before you can actually get into the epic story of the Tán properly. That's how our stories function. We tell. Hello, this is Lora Orion, and I want to make sure that you get access to our free gift for you, which is the Roots and Reverence Ancestral Connection Toolkit. So this is a 5-day guided exploration, which will be delivered to you free over email series, and it's as enlightening as it is grounding. It's designed for anyone who feels a kinship with Irish paganism, whether you carry Ireland in your blood, your heart, or the soul memories of lifetime past. There is no cost, only the promise of authentic connection to Ireland, as ever from us. So go to irishpagan.school/roots, that's ROOTS, to get your ancestral connection toolkit. And again, it's all free, delivered free over 5 days. There's resources, there's exercises, there's connection, there's all sorts of cool stuff. So I hope you enjoy that. It is our free gift to you for being a valued podcast member. So back to the episode. A story within a story. And you also need to build awareness of what is yours to hold and what's not. Again, the biggest blockage we see is people coming to our gate with just a big backpack full of entitlement because this is theirs, this is their ancestry, and how dare we gatekeep. And we're just trying to keep the garden safe. So we are a bit careful who we let in, definitely. They can leave their backpack of entitlement at the door, at the gate, then absolutely come on in. But if you can't, then that gate's closed to you. That's how we run our communities. So when you hear people giving out about us gatekeeping, you know what happened. All right? But that's where the practice begins then. Now, let's talk about a daily practice, because this is where so many people get stuck. They think that practice has to be elaborate or formal or time-consuming or another feckin' chore to add to an exhaustive list of overwhelming things that they have to do every day. And they think that it needs like special tools, ritual items, things that they have to ship off Etsy that came directly from Ireland, fluency in the Irish language, or some kind of perfect historical accuracy before they can begin. And that's not what I'm saying either. All right? It doesn't require any of those things. A grounded Irish pagan practice in the early stages might look something like this. You are noticing the shift of light through the year, the grand stretch in the evenings. And again, if you don't get a joke like that, then you haven't spent enough time around Irish people. Observing when the days begin to lengthen. Reading one myth slowly in like little chunks, just a paragraph or something, right? And sitting with it instead of immediately having to interpret it or understand it or think that there's a personal message in it for you. It could mean marking the traditional festivals in a really simple way, like lighting a candle or speaking gratitude or spending time outdoors with attention. No costumes, no grand theatrical reenactment, no posting it online for validation. None of that is necessary. Irish paganism is not about aesthetic performance. It's about right relationship. And everything that I've described so far is how you build right relationship. And right relationship, corcuivness, takes time. If you feel drawn to a particular Irish god or goddess, any kind of a figure like Breege or the Morrigan or the Dagda or Lugh, the work is not to claim them or even worship them. It's to learn like who they are in their stories, in the source material that we still have, that we're still blessed to have. To understand how they appear in this mythology, to understand the difference between medieval literature and modern fantasy, which gets things very twisted up, unfortunately. And like a pull towards a god or a goddess doesn't automatically equal a calling. You're not the next high priestess of Breach, right? Curiosity is allowed. Study is required. And honestly, like, these are gods. So don't be expecting them to notice you straight away. Like, humility is essential. Unfortunately, like, we'd all love to be the chosen one, but there can be only one in every generation, unless it's fate, special case. Another concern, show my age there. Another concern I hear a lot is this. Is this compatible with therapy, with modern life, with my job or my parenthood or my responsibilities? And yeah, it really is. If a spiritual path demands that you detach from reality, that you feckin' abandon your critical thinking or your questioning, or that you replace professional support with magical thinking and manifestation and healing spells, that is not a healthy path. Okay? Please don't go down that path. Put up signposts for other people so that they don't go down that path. Okay? That is not this path, I promise you. Irish pagan practice, Irish spirituality as we do it, as we teach it at the Irish Pagan School, it should make you more grounded. It should give you spoons, not take them away. It should make you more accountable, more present in your life, in the lives of the people you love. Not less. It shouldn't take you away from any of that. And there's going to be times when you need some space and some healing and some self-development work, and you might have to go quiet for a while. You might have to turn inward for a while. But like, you don't have to go on sabbatical for a year and live up a mountain and like practice perfect guru fingers. I can't even do them. Your spirituality, any spiritual path, should not replace therapy or medical advice. It should never bypass grief or anger or any other emotion that you have every right to feel. It definitely shouldn't override mental health care or physical health care or relationship support. Spirituality is not a substitute for clinical support. It's a layer of meaningful relationship within a full human everyday life. Like, it should add to your life, not take away from it. That's spirituality as we do it, as we teach it, as we offer it at the Irish Pagan School. And that brings us to community. Community. You don't have to become a teacher just because you're studying something. This, like, people think that they have to get initiated and become a teacher and all the rest. We don't do any of that. You don't have to start a group. In fact, if you're outside the culture, I would say be really careful about teaching or starting groups because you're into cultural appropriation territory if you are benefiting from a culture that's not yours, that is either like financial benefit or social credit kind of benefit. That's cultural appropriation. Point people back to source. Give credit where it's due. Don't be claiming it for yourself. You don't have to take on titles or roles or change your name. I know, shocker, in paganism. You don't have to actually change your name to Seraphina Moonbeam, Lady of the August Night. You are allowed to remain just a learner. I am still a learner. John is still a learner. Like, we are teachers at the Irish Pagan School. We have multiple teachers who also teach classes, and they're still learners because they wouldn't have a place in our community if they stopped learning and started teaching. And in fact, remaining a learner for a long time is often the most respectful thing that you can do. And approaching everything, and anybody who's been around me for a minute knows I always teach to approach anything with a beginner's mind. If you're starting a course or a program with me, if you have already done 10 years of Celtic paganism with the coven in San Francisco, you're still starting fresh with me, because everybody starts fresh. Every time I teach a course or a program, I start fresh with it and I learn new things. So why the fuck should you be any different? The modern, how do I phrase this? The modern spiritual marketplace pushes people to turn everything into identity and income. And that's not what Irish tradition asks of you. It asks you to listen. The gods, guides and guardians of Ireland, the ancestors, the spirits of the land, spirits of the monuments. What they're asking is that you listen, that you learn, that you just be, so that you can build your relationships with all of these things. It's all about relationships. And relationships have to be built slowly. If you started a relationship and you were in it suddenly, like you're getting married after a month of knowing someone, the people who care about you would be rightly worried, correct? You would be worried if you saw somebody else doing it. So think of it in those terms. I know it's not the same because, again, these are gods, these are spirits, these are ancestors, these are not friends and neighbours. But building relationships slowly is really important, and taking care not to extract. Ireland has been colonised for a very long time, was colonised for a very long time. And I say has been in present tense because part of our island is still colonised. And we have a very difficult time with people who come into our culture and just want to take from us. And again, if you don't understand why that is, you really need to study history before you get into Irish spirituality, please. So if you're at the beginning, here is your simple starting framework. This video's already gone on a bit long, but first, clarify why you are drawn here. Is it ancestry? And it's not that ancestry is a bad thing. It just doesn't entitle you to anything. My ancestry doesn't entitle me to anything. I still need to do the work. Yours is the same. Are you here from dissatisfaction with other paths? Are you drawn to the stories, to the mythology? Really dig in there and be honest with yourself. You can actually comment below if you want. And let me know why you're here. I'd love to read them. I read all the comments, by the way. Second, then, commit to a period of study without claiming anything, like 3 months, 6 months, a year, just learning. If you want to get on the waiting list for our 8-week program, then it is irishpaganschool.ie/return. There'll be a link below. It opens every couple of months. So that's grand. But regardless of whether you're studying with us or not, period of study without claiming anything, without becoming anything, without making it your whole personality. Commit to that. And then third, begin a really small, steady practice that actually fits in your life and adds to your life. Because 5 minutes of attention is better than 2 hours of performance. And 2 minutes a day is better than 2 hours a month. I don't know what way the maths works out, but I'm not a maths person, so you did maths. But even if it's the same length of time, I don't think it is, but even if it's the same length of time, 2 minutes a day, a practice for 2 minutes a day is going to get you further than 2 hours a month, right? And then fourth, stay in ethical alignment. Don't be a colonizer. If you live outside Ireland, also build respect and awareness for the indigenous culture of the land that you're on, your own land. That's not actually yours. These wouldn't be competing loyalties. The Irish people, and particularly the Choctaw tribe, actually, of the Native American tribes, but many of the tribes have generations of good relations and cousinship going back. So it's not a competing loyalty to be studying or practicing Irish paganism and to build a respect and an awareness for the culture of the people whose land you actually inhabit. If you enjoyed this podcast, please leave us a positive review in your podcast listener. Then head over to irishpaganschool.com and enroll in one of our free or paid courses. Slán go fóill, and we will see you next time.